So first off, let me call upon Asanka Perera to talk about how Google Classrooms has made an impact for him. Asanka Perera is educated at S.Thomas College Mount Lavinia and presently serves as a sub-warden and teacher of mathematics for O-levels. He is a qualified electric and electronic engineer from the University of Northumbria, Newcastle upon Tyne, United Kingdom. He has a passion for singing and choral music and programming embedded systems. So I'm sure with his diverse experience and being an eminent educationist in this country, I'm sure he has a lot to say. So here's to you, Mr. Asa.
Thank you, Safra, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So the topic which I was asked to elaborate on was how Google Classroom was implemented at St. Thomas's and our success story, basically. So before I get on to Google Classroom, I'd like to begin our journey, the journey which began during the first lockdown in March 2020. We never thought it was going to be a lockdown or we will not have school for so long. But when we did lockdown in March, I was given some reliable information that this lockdown, which started off in March, would perhaps go on for a little longer and up till even September. But we now know it's far longer than that. But as soon as I heard that, my mind started working. I thought we must look at tools where we can get online, because keeping school closed for that long amount of time, it's not healthy for the students. Anyway, so what started off there basically got me experimenting a lot of platforms out there. I've experimented at least 5 or 6 platforms. But it all had its advantages and disadvantages, but finally settled on Google Classroom for a few reasons. I'll elaborate a little later. But we stuck with Google Classroom. Now, St. Thomas's already had a student management system where all the students are registered, where we have the academics monitored. We can see progression of the students right through the years in terms of their grades, in terms of their extracurricular activities. But something we did not have was a learning management system. And basically two-way communication where the teacher can set an assignment for the student can answer that assignment, and then a teacher can give feedback. Now, that was not something we had. But this is where Google Classroom came into our aid, and that is what we've now implemented, and now we have it fully fledged and integrated into our system, where we're running it at the same time. Although we started physical school, we're running it at the same parallelly as well. So I made an application to Google, took a few weeks, but then finally we were allowed a free of charge access to G Suite for education. Now, G Suite is what it used to be called. It's now called Google Workspace. We immediately created accounts for staff, for students. For the first time in the history of St. Thomas's, or basically history of any school, I guess, we were able to get all the students, even as young as grade 1, where 6 years of age. We created email accounts where all our communication happens through that. Obviously, the parents are accessing those email accounts, but that email account will stick with them right through through their years in school, and where official communication can happen through that, which is another learning step for the boys. Anyway, so overnight almost we went from a paper tradition to a paperless tradition, and where all our emails now was handled through Google. We started using Google Classroom, where teachers were able to upload study material. So we used to do a class, we used to record that class and upload it to the Google Classroom. So if by chance, I mean, there were plenty of boys who couldn't join in because they had data issues or power cuts in the area or whatever, they could always go onto the Google Classroom, access the material, watch the video, access the notes from the classroom. So these are all things which happened. We were able to do a set assignments, mark and give them feedback, conduct online classes, whatnots, right? Everything which none of this we would have thought were possible Had it not been for the dreaded virus. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but this virus basically pushed us all into the deep end and said, learn to swim, and that's what we did. Right. I'm not too sure if you have, but if you haven't, you should. There's something we should definitely try is Google Forms, where you can assign quizzes. Now this is fantastic, especially for someone like me, where I don't like marking books so much. I shouldn't be heard saying that, but where you get the system marking it for you, right? So so you can set the quiz where you have the answers already set out, get the children to answer it, and they have fun doing it as well, right? But to be marked automatically was a godsend because of the numbers of students we were handling. I've even tried an escape room for the students through Google Forms, and that was fabulous. Yes, it takes a lot of imaginative skills for that, but once you group the students into various groups and get them passing through the various stages and going from one room to another room until they can come out of that room. So it was just fantastic, and even if I do say so myself, I know the boys enjoyed that thoroughly. And also the Google platform, because of the fact that there are a lot of developers out there who develop things for the Google platform. There's a lot of flexibility, and although some platforms, I'm not going to name names, but some platforms were limited to perhaps 4 video screens or 9 video screens, some even up to 25. Google, through their add-ons, allowed you to go up as high as 100, right? So you're in a classroom. You'd like to see all the faces of the students. You want to make sure that they are paying attention and not falling asleep, right? So these are some of the additions which you got through Google. Our boys have started experimenting with other applications connected to Google, and that looking at creating websites, running Google scripts for making the mundane things a little interesting. We have databases, forms being created, and a lot of things which are happening thanks to Google Classroom and thanks to G Suite. But of course, nothing comes without its challenges. And of course, there were a lot of challenges we had to get through. One of the biggest challenges were for us where students and the teachers did not have the devices to get online. A lot of our old boys contributed, a lot of our parents contributed. We shared our devices with each other. We managed to do something to get everyone online. But that was one of our biggest challenges, where some were able to. I mean, if a teacher would have had a smartphone, but it's not easy. You can't do a good class with a smartphone, or you need a laptop or a good device to do that. So those are some of the things, problems we had as the biggest challenge. The second challenge we had was getting our teachers and students trained on how to use these tools. That took quite a lot of work, where we got everyone together in batches, where we had to do trainings, where we had to do the workflows, do documents, help documents. This is how to get it done, step-by-step material. Anyway, so all that was done, and we are happy to announce that all our staff and students stepped up to their mark, and were able to come up to speed and up to standard. Now, having Google Classroom at first, and having a schooling online at first, was a fabulous, novel idea, which everyone got on board. Everyone was just happy. It was just new. It was a new experience. Students were scrambling to come online. Parents were happy to see school beginning. Teachers were happy to do the classes. But as time went on, digital fatigue started kicking in. And the more classes we had, the more we saw that the boys were tired, the teachers were tired, and they were really, really struggling, right? Now, in our case, we took a conscious decision to not have 8 periods in a day, right? Otherwise, we would have started off at 7:30 and end up at 1:30, but 8 periods a day on digital did not make sense to us. So what we did was to have 5 periods, 5 40-minute periods separated by 20-minute breaks. So the students and teachers had a time to go and get a glass of water, rest their eyes, just stretch their legs, or they would be just glued to the screen, which is very, very, very unhealthy, especially for the young ones. And then we made sure, again, a conscious decision, we made sure that we do not encroach onto the personal time of both students and the teachers. The usual school finishes at 1:30, and so after 1:30, we made it a point we did not disturb either students or teachers unless there was a very important meeting we had to have, but otherwise we would not go beyond 1:30. But even after doing all that, there was a lot of tiredness to be seen, and towards about February of this year, that's when we saw it peaking, where boys were really tired and teachers were really tired. So now, although school has begun, in stages at least, but since school has begun, we do still continue to use Google Classroom to set assignments, to do projects, because boys, at the end of the day, we are training them for the next stage of their lives, and they will. We've passed the point where you need to look at log tables to find out how to do a calculation, right? Everything is available as online tools or computer tools or whatever. So we need to train them for that future, and that future, which can be seen right now. We need to train them to reach that area where they can do their own Google searches, find information for themselves, be independent. So this, the pandemic, although horrible as it is, it gave that rise for that bit of independence for the students, and that we're happy with. So we do continue to use Google Classroom, but we want to expand on it and bring those tools which were available online, bring it into the classrooms, so to make the classrooms as creative as possible. That's it from me. I hope that answers that give a bit of an overview of into Google Classrooms and the success stories of St. Thomas's. Of course, it comes with its challenges, but I think we manage to do our best.
Thank you, Asanka. I think